Hello, everybody. Welcome
Hey,
to a very special episode of Watch Them Thrones.
mm,
Now, normally we go, Sunday nights after the show, but when Uncle Corlys say he pulling up and what time he can do it, then that's when we gonna do it, baby. So
You goddamn right.
we here
thank
now,
you very much.
ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce you all to our favorite character of the show, Mr. Steve Toussaint, aka Big Uncle Corlys. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much. It's so good to meet you guys. And by the way, I really love the theme tune. What you've done with it. That's class, man.
Shout out to Caleb.
Hey, the guy who did it, he's in the comment now. Caleb Darren Faulkner. Thank you. See,
Oh, okay.
even Uncle Corlys love it, baby. It's up.
There he is. He said this is legendary. Hey, man, that's beautiful, man.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Not at all.
So we have a lot, lot of questions. We want your insight. And like I told you backstage, we want you to be your true, authentic self and say it however you feel like you need to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No code switching here.
Hey, look, talk your shit just like you do. You know what I mean? We want you to do that. I was telling you off screen that I love that you were rocking the salt and pepper beard, and you shared something with me that I didn't know. So if you would,
Okay. Yeah. I was saying that I'm not really a beard fan. I think I've had a beard maybe 4 times in my long life. And even when I got this job, because I didn't know this book or anything, they showed me some sketches, and it was sketches of with me with locks, and I thought, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then they said, oh yeah, and you have to not shave, and I was like, oh come on, man. And so then I did, and then what happens now? The minute we finish shooting, well, it took a long time to finish shooting the first season because we had COVID and there were all these many stops and starts. But then when we finally finished, I got rid of it. And then what happens is somewhere around the middle of January, I get a call just going, stop shaving. So it's back now because we start in about a couple of months' time. So
that's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Dang, y'all heard it here first.
A couple months time. Can y'all like just like do a time or just shoot that shit and then just have it to us as an exclusive?
Like shoot it, release it.
Because it's a couple months time and then it's what, a year and a half of actually filming and post-production and editing and before.
I think so. I mean, the first season is kind of hard to gauge because, as I said, it was all new. Well, new to us, and of course, it was COVID. So we had 3 units at any one time because people were dropping with COVID all the time. And so initially, when we started that, we were supposed to start. I think it was meant to be March. I think until around October, and it kept getting pushed because each time. So I think I said goodbye like 3 or 4 times. At the end of the shoot, you come and thanks. It's been so beautiful. Thank you so much. I hope it does well and we get to see each other again. And then a phone call would come like days later saying, no, don't shave. We need you back. So that one, we didn't actually finish shooting until the beginning of the following year, beginning of, where are we? 22. But the plan for this one is that we go in and we start rehearsing in a few weeks' time. We do a couple of weeks rehearsing. We start shooting, I believe, last time I heard, it's beginning of April. And we are supposed to finish around the end of September, beginning of October. So my guess is that they will then spend time assembling it and showing it to HBO and Warner Brothers and all those people. And I would guess that it would be seen around spring of the following year. But don't hold me to that. That's above my pay grade. I'm just guessing.
So I would suggest next time there's a global pandemic, another one, to just shoot it in Atlanta, Georgia. We don't care about that down here. It's
okay, I would love to. That's what you guys are? You're in Atlanta? I thought you guys were in Houston.
A little bit of a mix.
All over.
Yeah, we're from all over. Yeah.
Houston,
now, Atlanta, Mississippi.
I was the one talking directly to you. I'm based out of Houston, but we got guys in Mississippi, we got guys in Georgia, like we all over. But
and how is it? How is it down there?
It's great.
It's been cool. It's been cool.
How is it as far as what? It depends.
Yeah, I was about to say, because that's
a good question.
Yeah.
But
well, you know, it's funny because I've been coming and going to America for many years, but I've never really I think I've been to the South once. I went to Charleston, which I think is in one of the Carolinas.
South Carolina. Yeah.
I was doing a play, but most times I'm either in LA or I've been in New York, but I don't know the South at all, except, you know.
Charleston definitely has that old feel to it. So if Charleston is your first encounter with the South, I mean, it's a charming city, but at the same time, you can definitely feel the elements of its history there for sure.
Okay.
But it's Black History Month here in America, so we're turning up this month. You know what I mean? But
cool.
the South is definitely an interesting place. Leslie actually shared Leslie, you want to talk about that? Or I was going to segue into it, but
oh yeah, sure. No, I was I was doing a little research on you, Mr. Toussaint, and I noticed that you changed your name to Toussaint. Now, can you tell us about that? Like, as far as like, what was your original surname and why did you change it? And what's the story?
Sure. So I haven't changed it. It's just that I have it's the name that I use professionally, but my legal name is still my legal name.
Okay.
So when I joined our union, Equity, the equivalent of SAG over there, you are not allowed to. There can't be more than one person with the same surname, with the same name. So there was somebody with exactly my name at the time I was going to join many years ago. And so obviously I had to find a new name. And while I was trying to find one, I was reading a book called The Black Jacobins. I don't know if you know this book. It's basically a history of Haiti. And I'm sure you know, it's Black History Month. I'm sure you know about Haiti being the oldest republic in the world. And
absolutely.
Right. So I was reading about this incredible slave army that became a proper army and defeated their Western slave masters.
Yes,
and of course, they were led by a man called Toussaint Louverture. And so I suddenly thought, hey, Toussaint, that's a great thing to carry that thing forward, that message forward. And it kind of has a nice ring to the name. And literally, it's so weird. The minute I started using it, literally almost the very next day, people were saying, yeah, I've heard of that guy, Steve Toussaint. I know. I hadn't done anything. But it's just one of those names. And so it's kind of stuck. And I think more people know me by that name than by my legal name.
Yeah. Wow. I love that story.
Very interesting story.
So, I wanted to kind of get into the show a little bit. Well, before we get to the show, now you said you didn't read the book, but traditionally, well, in the book, the character of Corlys Velaryon is white, and when they put out who the cast was, those people went ape shit crazy when they discovered that Corlys Velaryon will be played by a black man. And I mean, that was like all types of vitriol, hate, whatever you can imagine was put out there. With that being said, how did that, or did it affect you initially, and how did you use that to attack the role of Corlys?
That is that's a very complex question, actually. Okay, so when I got the role, I was very excited because I was aware of Game of Thrones. Obviously, I'd seen that, but I'd never read this book, as I said. And so I was very excited, and my friends were more excited for me, and so forth. And then I think the first thing that came out, there was my picture alongside, I think, a picture of Emma Rhaenyra as well. I think we were announced around the same time. And the first thing I saw on social media, someone had put up my photo next to an artist's impression of Corlys with a question mark. I see him as this, and this is their cast. And so you kind of go, okay, fair enough. And then the next thing that I saw, a director I had worked with on a show was very happy for me. And he put out something saying, oh, Steve Toussaint's fantastic. And somebody responded directly underneath it, Steve Toussaint's a nigger. And I was like,
God damn.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, wow. And so there began some stuff. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to annoy me because, I mean, I don't know what it's like. I have an idea what it's like growing up where you guys are, but growing up here, we live with it. It's here. It's not every single day, but very few of us are surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you kind of go, it's just a fucking show, man. Come on, it's not really. So there were dribs and drabs of it coming through. And you do your best to ignore it. And it's easier to ignore it when it's someone else. It's easy to say to somebody else, hey, man, don't worry about it. These people are nothing. But there was a time when I was sitting here, I'm in my kitchen right now, sitting in my kitchen with my cousins. We were talking, the show hadn't been out yet, but we were talking about it and they were all very excited for me. And then I get this message on Instagram, something else, another racial insult. And you're just like, oh man, grow up. And so there is a part of me that was kind of like, there are hundreds of shows that come on TV every day that I don't like. I just don't watch them. There are actors that I don't like. I don't watch their work. I never feel the need to broadcast that I don't like them. I never feel the need to find their timelines and insult them because my life is way too interesting. There's too much going on in my life for me to waste my time doing that. But these people who feel the need to do that, I guess there's not much going on. And so in my more generous moments, I feel sorry for them. And that's also, I feel I have to address this too, because some people thought I was jumping ahead or jumping on the bandwagon. This is not people who had an idea about what this character should be and were disappointed by the actor that was chosen. That happens. I'm sure Daniel Craig can talk about how when he was announced as Bond, and people were like, oh my God, a blonde Bond, and all this nonsense, right? So that's one thing. You read a book, you have a vision in your mind as to how it's going to be played, and then you see the actor and you go, oh, wow. I mean, hey, I'm big enough to admit, because I'm probably older than all you guys, that when Denzel Washington was announced to play Malcolm X all those years ago, I was one of those people going, really? That pretty boy? No, right? So that happens, but then you see the work, and then you decide you like it, and in that case, he was fantastic. So it wasn't that; it was more the thing that I was getting, and again, nowhere near the amount that, say, my friend John Boyega got when he was revealed as a stormtrooper, or I have a friend who was playing Hermione in the stage production of Harry Potter.
I remember that.
Right, that's a friend of mine. In fact, another friend of mine's playing her on Broadway, playing that same part on Broadway. Nothing like that. Nothing like the poor women who were Ghostbusters.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know the lady's name, the black lady, a comedian. She eventually
Leslie Jones.
Right, because of this nonsense. Yep. So mine was nowhere near that. So I'm not complaining. Well, I am complaining because it's stupid. But it could have been a lot worse for me. And you know what? You just think, every day that I'm doing this, if that hurts you, good.
Yeah. Hey, I love that. Hey, listen, that's a bar right there. I love that. Talk that shit. For real.
But that's
I have to say that the response since the show's been out has been absolutely wonderful. You know, most people have been very, very kind. I did a couple of conventions, one in Germany and one in Los Angeles. And it was nothing but love. And it was so lovely to have those people so supportive who had seen the stuff that had been said about me and who felt the need to come to my aid and defend me. I'm a big guy, I'm good. But they're able to say to me, no, we don't all feel like that, which I didn't think that they did. So it's all good.
Awesome.
I mean, you know, they can't say anything because you killed the role. Like, it's not even, you know, close. Like we can't see anybody else playing that role. But like what you said, you know, it's kind of like why we're here, you know, that safe space for Black people, you know, to be a part of this world, because I mean, we know it wasn't written for us and things of that nature, and I think that's why you are so beloved by Black people over here and everywhere, because of the way you embody that role.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I think one of the first people that reached out to me, there's a YouTuber called Tony Teflon. Do you know that person? Anyway, Tony Teflon, he has a YouTube. He's like you guys, he has a YouTube channel. and he reached out to me before the show came out because he was finding himself having to defend me on things like Reddit, and I've never been on Reddit, but he was having to defend me and say, well, no, it's possible that these people could have come from this place. And I'm like, I'm glad that you're taking the time, but it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
If they have an issue, like I said in a quote that people use back against me, if they are able to watch dragons flying, if they are able to see violet-colored eyes, but they object to a rich black man, then there's nothing you can do for those people.
Yes,
that's beyond pale. That's what you said. It's beyond pale. You know, like, but they had the same shit. They had the same argument about Little Mermaid. Remember, it was like this whole big, like, these people start talking about like scientific shit as to the reason how a mermaid cannot be black. And I just knew right then and there, you're right. These people are beyond reproach, and you just can't. And there's no sense of wasting your time.
Absolutely, I think they also, the guys who are on, and I haven't seen the show yet, but the oh my goodness, the Tolkien on Amazon Prime, Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There were some characters of color on that, and again they were getting the same thing. And you just go, people are going to just talk. You know, some people are going to talk, and then you just have to get on and do the best job that you can and hope that people like that.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't matter for characters, especially that aren't defined, like you were hinting at earlier, by their race. Like if Black Panther stepped out of there looking like, blonde hair, blue eyes, and then you like, wait a minute, that's one thing, right? But but to just just do something where the actual essence of the character is what people need to focus on instead of some physical characteristics.
I agree.
Let's get into it, TK.
Yeah. So now that we got the hatefulness and the bullshit out the way, it had to be addressed because I myself want to hear it directly from you. But let's leave that in the past and let's get into this show, man, because like I said, you really killed the role. And I mean, we all have our favorite Corlys lines, our favorite Corlys scene. But the one thing I wanted to ask you was what was like what do you pull from inspirational from within yourself that allows you to just absolutely body this role? Because like you do it with such passion and precision and honestly excellence that it just hops off the screen. Like, where do you get that from? You got that dog in you.
I'm not entirely sure. I think the thing about this job is an awful lot of it comes through osmosis. There are characters that you've met in your life that you just catalog. But one of the things when I was trying to get this role, and I had a couple of discussions with Ryan and Miguel, our showrunners, one of the things that came out was actually, it wasn't about him being an explorer or being a warrior. It was actually about him being a father. And I had just done, Steve McQueen had done a series of films about the West Indian experience here in England. And I had been in one of those. I played John Boyega's dad in one of those. And they had just seen it. So we talked about that, and we talked about what it is to be a father. Now, I'm not a father. I just happen to have a lot of friends who are, and I grew up with it around children and stuff. But what is that? What does that mean? And for this man, I feel like his engine the whole way through, at least season 1 anyway, is about securing his family's legacy in a very dangerous world, in a world in which the wrong word can have you banished and thrown out. And what he has is a certain amount of confidence because he is the richest man in the world when we meet him, in this world when we meet him. So then that plays into a long time ago, I played Othello. And Othello there are similarities in the sense that for Othello, there is this one thing that I do well, and the state rewards me for it, and that is I win battles. That's what it is. And you can decide, it depends on the actor, of course. When I was playing it, I thought to myself, okay, there is a sense of arrogance built that's backed up by the fact that I can do this stuff, but also a slight unease. because I'm only here because I do this job.
Mm.
And I felt that there was a little bit of that in Corlys, that he is. One of the things that would happen whenever we were shooting, particularly the small council scenes, I would constantly be speaking to Miguel or Greg or Ryan and saying, okay, how rude can I be? How far can I push this contempt for these people who talk about sending people to war, but they've never been to war? How far can I go? And Ryan would usually say, okay, well, you can't say that because it cuts your fucking head off. So you can't say that. But it was constantly a tightrope. And so I think that sense of being the only guy in the room who really has earned it. And I think I've only watched this season once. There's a scene in episode 2. It's just myself and Matt, Damon and Corlys. And I say to him, everything I got here, I built it.
Mm-hmm.
No one gave this to me. And I think that at the core is the core of Corlys. I have to prove myself. And not only do I have to prove myself, I have to prove it so that you all acknowledge that this is who I am. So that's I think that's one of the things that I try to keep in him. And also the other thing, of course, is that he loves his wife. He's one of the few people in this show who actually loves the woman he's with.
Man, it's so funny that you said that. Literally yesterday when TK, you say it, because we talked about this yesterday. So I see you over there like amazed, because that's literally what you pulled.
Yeah, like you hit like 2 or 3 of the points that I wanted to ask you about. You know, just black shit, man. We on the same wavelength, man. I love it.
No, like, and that was the same thing that I was about to bring up too. Like, you can tell from just watching the show your stage presence, and that you were a stage actor. Like, I can just tell, right? And I remember one of my favorite scenes is when you came out like limping after you went to war, you went to battle, and you were this was the last episode, and you were like, we have taken over the narrow sea. And I'm just like, wait a minute, nobody even kind of, but you just had so much like bravado, just this like bravo's appearance about it, in the way you kind of enforced, like in just the way you kind of announced that, was just something that I could tell you have just the stage presence that like goes back to your, like to your stage days, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that's where a lot of us, I mean, I don't know how it works in, say, LA, but certainly in London, and I guess in New York too, I guess. I don't know what the theatre scene is like where you guys are, but an awful lot of us, that's where we start, in theatre, and, cold, empty rooms with like 5 people and their dogs, and you've got to try and hold on to their attention and so forth. And but it keeps you in good stead hopefully for the career ahead. Yeah,
like you kind of remind me of a little bit of Logan Roy from Succession too, as far as like Corlys Velaryon. That's how you got to. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So one of the things y'all brought up was that he loves his wife, and like that's probably the only couple on the show that's actually about love, in my opinion. Not duty, not station. Like, y'all really love each other, and it bleeds out in every scene you in. So let me just say, you and Eve Bess, who plays Rhaenys, y'all are affectionately known as Uncle Corlys and Aunt Niecy. And
Auntie Niecy.
Like, I'm serious. Like, she gets a lot of love, from us.
The Black Twitter universe. Yeah.
Oh, she's just so pleased when I tell her.
Please, and tell her come through. We want to talk to her too. But my question is, like, how did y'all develop that chemistry? Because like y'all got crazy chemistry. Have y'all worked together before, or was it just they picked the 2 right fucking people and it just it hit?
I would have to say, I guess it was just an accident of casting, I guess. I mean, it's a very difficult one because I tend to be a little cynical about the use of the word chemistry, only because, excuse me, in at least 3 times in my career, 1 stage show and 2 television shows, including this one, someone has asked me if myself and the actress are actually in a relationship because of the chemistry. And I always go, what? Because we looked into each other's eyes. What do you mean? So I don't know. But I can tell you, we hadn't worked together. I did know who she was because she's well known over here, certainly as a stage actress. And she had been in a show over there called Nurse Jackie.
Okay.
Nurse Jackie.
Yeah,
Showtime.
right.
Yeah. So she'd been in that. And so I knew she was. And then there was a show that was done over here called The Shadow Line, a TV show, which I'd seen her in. So I knew who she was. But to be honest, from the moment we met, the very first day of rehearsals, we walked up and I think I said, hello, I'm going to be your husband. And she said, oh, how lovely to meet you. And then we were like that for the rest of the production. She's a very lovely person, very intelligent person. So we had wonderful conversations. And she remembers this. I don't remember this, but she says on that very first day, we found ourselves by the craft services table and just broke into a spontaneous hug. And our fates were sealed, basically. And I think one of the first things that she and I and Miguel and Ryan, when we had our first conversation, we both said to them, is this a love match or is this a political merger? And they were both unequivocal in saying, no, this is love. And so that was what we took as our cue. And so it plays into, I'm glad it comes across because we try to think about it and then forget it in every scene. And so if it works, then result. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It works well. Like every scene is believable.
Okay.
Especially that one when you're in the bed after you come back from from war and sick and hurt. That whole scene was crazy good.
Oh,
So,
good. Thank you.
I do have a question for you since we're on characters and things like that. I wonder if there's a character in House of the Dragon that you perhaps find yourself most relating to or most rooting for outside of your own character, Lord Corlys.
Oh, wow. That's a very good question. I've not been asked that before.
We deep over here with it, huh?
Okay, yeah. Wow. If there is a character that I relate to, I'm going to surprise myself actually and say Viserys.
Okay. Okay.
Because he just wants a peaceful life.
I can understand that.
You know what I mean? He just wants the people around him to love each other and be a fucking family and just cut this shit. Do you know what I mean? So I've surprised myself because I thought you were going to ask me which character I find the most interesting or whatever. But that's because those questions, that's I have stock answers for those. Well, for one of them. But see, I've surprised myself there. Yeah, I think Viserys. I think because the thing about Viserys is that it's not that he's not certainly not a bad man. I just think he's the wrong king for this time.
Yeah,
that's a good.
You know what I mean? I just think this is like in my country's history. Winston Churchill was the right man at the right time for the war, the Second World War. But the minute that was over, it was just like, no, we don't need you, man. All your
fuck him a little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly racist ideas.
My fault. That a little shit in my throat.
Well, I know one character I know you would see yourself in. You the sea snake and Vaemon is just a snake, period. Let me tell you something. Everybody hates Vaemon.
I mean, like, okay, do we like, he's just on some, like, I don't know.
He's thirsty.
See, it goes to the power of the love that we have for, Corlys, because, you're not even dead. Nobody knows you're dead.
That's
or anything.
what I'm saying.
And Vaemon like, shit. Look,
let me get that.
Let me get that. Like, don't worry about him. I got it now. Fuck my brother.
Do you know what? It's a funny thing. I've had discussions with that actor. That actor I've known for many years. When we almost started our careers together. He's been around a little bit longer than I have, but we've known each other for the best part of, oh my god, a long time. And we would discuss this, and I would say to him, I'd say, "What the fuck, man? I'm not even dead. You're trying to get into my boots." And he said, and his take on it is that no, it's not that. It's that you have to protect the bloodline.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that those two grandchildren are not Velaryon. And Corlys knows they're not Velaryon, but has decided that they are. And Will Johnson, who plays that part, was saying, as far as he's concerned, Vaemon is the only guy who's telling it like it is. Enough of this bullshit. This is the truth. So when you put it like that, I was kind of like, you're still wrong, but okay, I can understand where you're coming from. But
Vaemon was the ultimate Negro-Garian. That's what I've coined the phrase Negro-Garian. And so, like, it's if all the commenters talking about something like I'm fangirling right now, fangirling right now. I'm talking to an actual Negro-Garian, and Vaemon, your brother on the show, was the epitome of Negro-Garian shit, because you're right, he was telling it like it is. He didn't cut any corners, and like, even though he was, like, in his approach was, even though it was harsh, and I guess he deserved to have 3/4 of his head cut off, in a sense, but at the same time, I liked how your sort of stance in the show was, well, the history books won't remember exactly how it, like, it's just all about the names, right? More than anything else.
I remember the name.
That was one of the like one of the legacies of your character, was that, like, the legacy of your family is about the names, and not necessarily just about what the minute details were, or who had sex with who, or whatever.
Absolutely. And I think also we didn't, I mean, I don't know if it was touched on in the series, but Corlys really does love those children.
Exactly.
They, as far as he's concerned, they are my grandchildren, and I love them, and I'm going to pass on my whatever to them. And I love that about him. I love that about him, and the fact that when Rhaenys at one point tries to broach it, says, "But we know what they are," and he says, "No. These are my grandkids. That's it."
I love that too. Actually, it kind of goes into another question that I have. In House of the Dragon, as Lord Corlys, you play a father in denial about quite a few things, including your son's sexuality and the paternity of your grandchildren. You're strong-willed, but you seem to fiercely love your family. I guess I was right about that. And you experience quite a bit of tragedy in the process. The way that Corlys responds to Laenor's sexuality is not unlike the way in which some parents today struggle with accepting their children's truth. How did you determine how Lord Corlys was going to approach these issues?
I think that's another good question. You guys do go deep. Damn. Okay, I think one thing we have to bear in mind is the context and the time. Supposedly, it's fantasy, of course, but the time that this is supposed to take place. So I'm going to give an answer that I've never really thought about, so it might go all over the place. But if it gets boring, please stop me.
Oh, it's okay.
There was a time in this country, in England, where male-on-male relationships were seen as part of growing up. So in the fee-paying schools, what we call public schools, I guess you call them private schools, it was common to happen because the ancient Greeks did it, and so it was like a thing that you did. And so there is I don't know what episode it is, but there is a line where I say something like, "He's young, he'll grow out of it." It's a very common thing in this country, and that's why I saw it. That all of that stuff, as far as Corlys is concerned, all of that stuff, him with these other boys, that's just childish shit. But when it comes time to do his duty, he will do his duty, and he will provide, he will prepare the heir and the spare, because that's what you're supposed to do. Never mind all this frivolous crap. And I think that's as far as his understanding of it goes. Now, I don't know whether I can say that I can excuse Corlys for it, because I'm looking at it from today's eyes, and we know so much more. So I'm playing him, so I'm going to be a little more sympathetic to him than I am to a parent that I come across today who is like that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we know enough now today for us to be able to say, and again, I speak as someone who doesn't have children, I don't know about you guys, that you would think to yourself, well, I just want my child to be happy and safe.
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes us happy is to be our authentic selves, as you said, I should be at the beginning of this thing.
Yeah.
So I think I try, as an actor portraying that part, I just thought to myself, well, he would just think, no, this is what we do. Yeah, of course, men have slept with men for years. Of course, they've done that. But when it comes down to the facts and preserving the family name, well, there's only one way you do that, and he will do it. There was a scene, it got cut from the scene. There was a section that got cut from the scene from the episode. I don't know the numbers of the episodes, but the episode where it was the wedding or the pre-wedding.
Okay.
Where his lover is killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the episode, we cut from him. I think he's just on the floor. Lenos is on the floor crying over his lover's corpse. But we actually shot, and it was a suggestion that I made. I said to the director, Claire, I'm going to do this thing. She said, yeah, sure. I actually grabbed him, dragged him up onto his feet, and marched him to the princess. And was basically like, you're fucking marry it. Do it.
Right.
But I guess time constraints meant they couldn't use that. And I thought that was the cruelty of Corlys.
Yeah.
That was the thing of, I don't care what you think and what your feelings are. You're going to do this thing because you're going to get us closer to the crown. And I guess it was time constraints, but I wish I had, because it would have shown a slightly darker side to Corlys, really.
I would have loved to have seen that. Y'all, hey, listen, y'all heard it here. Like that would have been amazing. Yeah, man. Thank you for that answer. Thank you for the thoughtfulness that you put into that.
I like Corlys was like, shit, man, he'll grow out of that shit. now, staying with Corlys's children, like I know this was set thousands of years ago, and their traditions and things like that are very different from what we yeah. And as a viewer, we're supposed to suspend belief of where we are now and just fully immerse ourselves in, that world. But I want to know, how did you feel when you read in the script or when you had to act out the scene of betrothing baby Lenore, baby Lena to Viserys? Like, did you read that and was like, ugh?
Well, okay. When I read it, I hadn't met Nova, the actress playing that part. So I just read it, and amongst the 10 scripts that I was sent, as he tries to get them he gets the king to marry his younger daughter. That's literally how I saw it in my head. And so it wasn't until I met Nova, and even then, when I met her, I still didn't put the two together until we were in Spain shooting that scene, and I was like, oh my god, this child looks like 6. This is ridiculous. I think Paddy actually had realized it earlier than I had, and was just like, this is just ridiculous. I mean, she's a child, fucking hell. And so when we saw that scene, because there's a scene, I think when they're doing that, I'm standing somewhere watching them the whole time. So when I watched them, she's so tiny and so cute. You just think, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's a very, very hard thing to get your modern mind around. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and I think also the line that cuts me when she says to him something like, "My mom says I won't have to sleep with you for another 2 years."
Yeah.
Oh, man, fuck with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's I mean, I keep going back to that stupid excuse, which is basically, those were the times. I don't know, but that didn't. Of the many things that my character does, that was one of the things that Steve, found very hard to find a way to reconcile myself to that action. It's a child, man.
Do you feel like the optics of that scene itself lent to like that feeling? Because I feel like the show writers and directors, they intentionally tried to capture like the huge size difference between Paddy and Nova, the actor that you were just talking about that played the young version of Lena. It seems like they intentionally tried to show that like there was not only a huge age discrepancy, but you can see the size difference. So us as viewers of the show, we're watching like, like you say, what the fuck is going on? This is disgusting.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that was intentional, that they tried to kind of bring it across like that?
I think so. I mean, I never spoke to them about it, but I think so. And I think so because it is important that we understand just how monstrous this is.
Yeah.
Do you know, sorry, my answers go all over the place. So, anyway.
No
Do you
worries.
know the Lolita? Do you know that movie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, like, I mean, they remade it, but the first one was back in the 60s, I think. And it was James Mason. And they aged up the girl. The young girl that he has the affair with. Now, I saw that when I was, I don't know, about, say, 16, 17. And I thought, oh, wow, it's an older guy in love with a younger girl. Wow, what's so big deal? Oh, okay, he's sleeping with her mother, but whatever. But when I was at university, I then read the actual book. And that's a child. And so then you go, if you're going to make that story, you need to make it true. And the way to make it true is to cast somebody who looks like a child. Because the lead character in that film and that book is not a romantic lead.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pedophile.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you're supposed to do. And I think, as I said, I never spoke to Greg, who directed that part, or Ryan, but I think that your observation is astute, that I think that they really wanted to accentuate that this is just a child,
right,
being betrothed to a grown man
yes,
who's already been married. Yeah, so, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah,
because they could have made my daughter 16 or 17.
Yeah,
and that's,
it would have been a cop out. Though I think that it definitely played in the way that it was supposed to.
Good.
Now, staying with scenes and whatnot, what is like your favorite scene that you performed in the show, or one that you watched was like, man, that's the one right there? Like, what was your favorite? Because we each have our own favorite Corlys moment.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So once you tell us yours, we'll tell you ours.
It's a difficult one because in terms of the last part of your question, looking back at it and going, that's the one. I don't have one of those. I very rarely like to watch what I do, and all I see is what is shit. But the two scenes that I really enjoyed playing, I can't separate them. The very, very first shot of the whole season that we shot, because we shot episode 5 first. And the very, very first shot that was shot with any actors was me and Eve in the aftermath of our daughter's death. She's sitting by the fireplace. I start behind her and then I come and sit down. It's the one that ends with me saying, history doesn't remember, blood remembers names.
Right.
So that was I really enjoyed playing that scene because it was the first time that she and I had actually got to work together. And you realize quickly just what a wonderful scene partner she is, because no matter what you throw at her, she can go with it and give it back. And so it's a great joy to work with her. And I told this before, and I told her the very next day. I went home after that day and I said, thank God for Eve Best, because she's that good, And the second one would be the scene with myself and Matt. The scene at the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that as well, because again, it's just two actors. I'm basically trying to seduce him to my way, but knowing that he is a volatile character, can be dangerous, but at the same time, I'm not scared of him. And I really liked doing those two scenes. How they came out, I look at them and I go, I should have done this, or I should have done that. But that's the actor's curse, I guess. But if I was asked just off the top of my head, those would be the two that jump out. Nice. But I'm keen to hear what you guys thought.
Y'all,
take it around the horn.
All right.
So I'm gonna start with you, CJ. What you got?
Man, I got a lot of quite a few. One is when you walk the hell out of the small council. Like, I mean, like, that's, like, it took some some balls to do that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to actually stand up and protest when I'm about to call him Patty instead of announces his that he's marrying Allison. And so that was one of my favorite scenes. And I think I'm trying to save room for the scenes that I know a lot of people love. I also like another time the scene with you and Patty at Driftmark, the first time that he visits Driftmark, where you're pushing him and pushing him. And eventually when he steps out and you and Renice are talking, and you say, perhaps I may have gone too far. But you're talking about your name and ensuring that the children have the name of Velaryon up until I guess the agreement is up until they become of age to marry.
That's interesting, actually, because that's another scene that got slightly cut, because there was one other beat to that scene that we then lost, is that after that whole thing's been settled and he starts to walk away because he's clearly ill and so forth, I look at my wife, she gives me a gesture like, don't, and I give her a wink, and I look at him and go, just one more thing. I lost a lot of money doing in the battle in the Stepstone, so I was wondering about compensation. and then I've forgotten the character's name, but Gavin, the actor, Strong, steps in and says, a good sailor knows when he's won the battle. And it ended there. And so I wish that they had managed to keep that, but I guess it's a time thing. But yeah, that was a lovely scene to do. Anything with Paddy is good, actually, because he gives you so much, and there's so much happening behind his eyes. It's terrific.
Man, they cut some good shit.
Yeah, they did.
Another Big Punk exclusive. My boy was like, I'm leaving with something.
Right.
Around the way.
Leslie?
Hey, look, I'm sorry,
okay.
Leslie. Speaking of leaving,
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of leaving with something, it leads me to one of my favorite scenes, but it's very subtle. It's when Corlys is at Driftmark, admiring all of his gatherings and winnings and prizes, just all the different things from his voyages and his adventures. That's one of my favorite things, because I think it really kind of shows a lot of what Corlys is about, just as far as not necessarily being a conqueror, but going out and getting it on his own. He, getting all the spices and the silks and everything that made the Velaryon family what they are. And then him just kind of going back through, admiring all of that, while kind of strategically in his own mind planning his next steps. I think that was very big but subtle. But my absolute favorite scene, I think, is the entire Velaryon family, the entrance at the pre-wedding dinner. Man,
Black
shit was
as
so
fuck.
gangster. It's like you see Auntie Nisi and Laenor flying in on the dragons, with the scenery. And then you get the drums and everything, and they make the big announcement that the Velaryons are entering in. And that was the fucking blackest entrance that we could have ever had. I loved it.
I definitely got chills.
Talking about representation, actually, it's so interesting that when we were shooting that scene, and I forget how many days we took to shoot it, but I remember at one point while we were waiting for them to set stuff up, one of the supporting artists came over to me, black lady, and said to me, I just want to let you know, it's just so good to see us up on the big table. And you're like, oh man, because you get caught up in, you're just trying to get the role right, just trying to do it right, and you forget how important, what these things mean to all of us, to see ourselves in this world, and also not a slave, not a beggar, but somebody who's noble and rich. And so that brought it home to me again. So I'm glad that you like that scene.
Yes, huge show of power. I loved it.
Yeah, probably my favorite scenes in general with you, Steve, is just you in the small council meetings. So I write these takeaways after the end of every episode, and I always say that every time you're in a small council meeting, and I quote, "You're breaking it down for these white folks," and that's what you do every single time, and you don't miss. It's just like, you're trying to tell people, certain things that's going on the other side of the narrow sea, and they're not paying attention. But one of my favorite subtle scenes was when you refused the wine from Rhaenyra during I think this was one of the first scenes that we see you in. And it sort of establishes your character. And I really appreciated that, because as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, oh, this motherfucker is not to be trifled with. He is somebody who is serious, somebody who is calculated, and somebody who is disciplined, unlike most of the characters on this show and in this world.
Yes, thank you. It's so interesting because that was completely off the cuff. It wasn't written. It wasn't. We didn't talk about it. I just did it in the moment.
That's dope.
Because,
that's dope.
That's dope.
Yeah,
really.
Because Corlys is pissed off at that moment. I'm explaining what's going to happen. He's talking shit about parties and festivals. And so when Rhaenyra comes across, I didn't even think about it just like that. But then I saw the response when it came out, and I remember having this conversation with Miguel, our showrunner. And I said, it's so weird, this response that I've been getting for this thing. And he was like, well, sometimes magic happens. And so I'm so glad that I had that thought and that it resonated with people. Yeah, it's good. But it made sense in that moment.
Yeah, it does.
So for me, man, my favorite, when you brought it up, my favorite scene was the one between you and Damon at the end of episode 2. And like you really killed that scene. And the way that you said, it was the line about basically how you built your family's high seat off your own back, like that line made the whole scene for me, because you overall, you look at it, you can go into the small council and you can point at Viserys or you can point at Plato Hightower and you can say we hate Plato.
We hate Plato.
But you could point at all these people and say, oh, he didn't earn it, he was given this. He didn't earn it, he was given this. They were given this. But as for me, I got it out the mud and I earned every single thing that I got. And I'm gonna do whatever it takes to protect that, right? And like you talking to Damon, who's like you said, he's a wild card, he's absolutely nuts. But for you to reel him in like you did and get him to follow your lead, that just shows the power. And like I said, Corlys got that dog in him to bring him into the fold. And you was like, basically, fuck what they talking about. They messing up my money, and we got to fix this.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm glad you appreciated that. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's funny, Plato.
Definitely.
He's it's funny because I feel like Rhys has not been getting the kind of credit he should be getting for that role. I think he's fantastic, and I excuse me. Also, especially when you get to know him, and he's such a nutcase. But I think, everyone's wonderful, but someone like, say, Matt, the character of Damon is just beautiful. There's everything there for you. It's enigmatic, it's crazy, it's dangerous, it's sexy. And Viserys has a wonderful arc to go on. But I think what Rhys is doing with Otto, I think it's joyous. And it was only when I actually got to watch the whole thing, I was like, oh my God, the work he's doing. I'm surprised he's not getting more. But I guess if you guys hate him, he's doing a good job.
Right. And I think that's the big thing. It's just one of those characters that you love to hate, and it's because of the job that he did with it. Kind of similar to Joffrey in the Game of Thrones franchise. It's a character that you just hate naturally, but it's because of the performance by the actor. And Rhys has done phenomenal across his entire career, so it's to be expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do have a question for you. As you can see, we got something in common, right? You and I are both follically challenged. And my question is about the wig. Like, for one, how long did it take for them to like do the whole wig install? And two, how heavy is it? Because it looked heavy as hell.
It's not heavy at all. I won't say you forget that it's on, but it's very. In fact, there are 2 wigs I use in that season. There's one wig that's used from episode 1 to 5, and then another one that's used from 6 to 10. It's a very subtle difference. There's a slightly different hairline in them. But the advantage of being follically challenged is that in the makeup bus, you're not in there very long at all. Because if I had hair like Leslie, for example, one of the things they would have to do is they'd have to put it in cane row first. Then they put a bald mask on top of it, a bald cap, and then they put the wig on. So people like Eve, Matt, would be in for a good, I think when Eve first started, she was in the chair for about 3 to 4 hours.
Well, nobody's hair laid like Auntie Niecy.
Right, you know? Whereas with me, with this, I would have got my bald cap. So literally what would happen, I would go in, they would put a little bit of tape around the sides of my head, some glue, stick it on, and I'd be gone.
Yeah.
And that was it. Oh, and they, you know, combed the beard a little bit, put a bit of color in the beard, and that was it. So 20 minutes, half an hour, I was out. So it was really no problem. The hardest time shooting was the scene at the very, very beginning of the season when we're doing the choosing of the monarch, either my wife or Paddy. That was a very, very, very hot day. That was probably the hardest day, actually, because there were, I think, 200 extras. It was one of the hottest days, you know, in our year, anyways, not compared to your summers, but one of our hottest days. And then with the wig and everything, then I was like, this is just ridiculous. Why am I doing this stupid fucking job? I could have been a barrister. But that was one day.
I think the audience had a few questions. Tyrus, you want to take any of those?
Oh man, it's
much
pouring in.
so much. Like, first of all, let me just say you got a lot of the women swooning. You know, they throwing their panties at the computer screen right now.
Oh, I'm actually kind of jealous, so I don't know how to. It's all good. I'm married.
One question that somebody asked, and it's been a while back. They wanted to know if you knew anything about the sea snake getting his own spinoff. Like, there's been talk about it. Have you got anything you can give us on that?
I can say from what I know, because they were talking about it pretty much before we started shooting this one, that there is something in development. I mean, it won't be me, unfortunately. There are things that I can do, but I don't think I'm ever going to be able to play 21 again. So, you know, it might be somebody younger and prettier than me. But where that is in development, I don't know. The last thing I heard, I think when we were shooting around towards the end of the shoot, I think someone said to me, somebody is looking at the rushes to see how you play him, so they know how to write for the younger self. Now, I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard anything else about it. And the fact is, in this universe, George Martin has got quite a few things in development. I think I've heard of, there's the Sea Snake, there is something to do with Jon Snow, I believe, that they're doing. And something to do with, I don't know what the area is called. There's a part of the town where all the sort of the poor people live.
Flea Bottom.
Flea Bottom.
Right. I believe there are plans for something happening down there, but
hadn't heard about that. That's an exclusive.
Love it.
So we do have another question for you from Faye Haas, and their question is, how would you describe Corlys' relationship with his granddaughters? Rhaenys seems to be the only person there for them.
Now that's I can answer that one of two ways, really, because I can answer that as me, the actor, and what I wanted, and then there's what you see on the screen. Because I think that Corlys loves and cherishes them, certainly because they are also, you know, an extension of his daughter, who he's lost. And because certainly when we were shooting the scene, the tournament scene in episode 1, and our 2 kids are sitting in front of us, most of my interaction was with Nova, was with the girl playing my daughter. And so I quickly came to the conclusion that she is the apple of his eye. You know, albeit the fact that he is a man of this time and she's a woman, but I think there is a point where she is his little baby. And I think that the granddaughters are the extension to that, because of course now he's lost his daughter. Mm-hmm. However, I think I agree with that person's assessment, because I think if you watch the story, then he doesn't seem to have much. I don't think I'm with him at all. I think the moment of the fight between the kids, I think that might be the only time that I'm actually physically near them. But I guess, I mean, yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, because I know what I think when I'm in the scenes and they're there. I know what I'm thinking. But if it's not, but I guess there are other storylines to go. I mean, I know that, for example, there was a still that I saw recently. I wasn't there when they shot it, where Damon is seen hugging those two girls, but that didn't make it to the show.
Right.
And it's, for me, I'm like, oh, I wish that they had shown that side of him.
Yeah.
I know exactly which scene you're talking about. Right after Lena's passing, right?
Right.
And they're all hugging. No, I think Corlys's love is conveyed. I mean, I think he's a strong-willed individual, but he seems genuine in his love for all of his family. To me, like it comes off that way.
I think so too. I mean, I think one of the things that I've said in interviews before is that the one person that he will listen to is his wife.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't listen to her immediately, you know, he'll say, "I want to do this." You say, "You should do that," and he may go off and do the other thing, but he will come back and go, "Shit, you know what? You were right. I should do that." It's better than nothing.
Real life.
Yeah.
So we have another question. This is from Kyla McKenzie, and she's actually from one of the biggest Facebook groups that I've seen that's dedicated to you and everything, called Drip Mark's Finest. Like they really love you. Shout out to them. But her question is, it's two-part. Have you read Blood and Fire, and are you excited for Corlys's future?
First part of the question, no. There was a point when we were all sent the book. George Martin sent us signed copies, and I was going to read it then. And then I decided not to, for a couple of reasons. The main one being, there are two different ways of telling a story. You tell a story on screen, and you tell a story in the book. And I got the job of portraying the screen version. So I didn't want to read the book, learn some stuff about him, and then be upset that I didn't get to do it, or vice versa. And the second was because someone said to me, well, actually, when you read that book, it's not meant to be an accurate retelling of what happened. It's one person's version of events. So I thought, okay, well, there's no point. I'm going to go with what I have as a script. So to an extent, with the future of Corlys, I am excited for the bits that I know, but I don't know everything. Basically, what happened when we were promoting this show, where I think there was a point we were in San Diego for Comic-Con, and the producers and the showrunner kept coming up to me saying, "Oh, you're gonna like season 2. There's a lot of stuff for you in it. You're gonna like it." And that is as much as I know. People have hinted. People who have read the books have hinted, but we can't always be sure that we'll follow the books. So people who think they know may not know.
Gotcha.
Right.
Steve, I wanted to follow up with that book question for a second. I know that you've also dabbled in writing, or you're a writer, and you've written scripts and plays. And I'm a writer by night. I'm an attorney by day. But yeah, in fantasy, so fantasy is a monoculture for the most part, right? Especially, and also in fantasy novels, scripts, usually written by white males, and they usually take from cultures that represents their history, like medieval culture or whatever culture they grew up in, as a foundation for them writing out these fantasy worlds. Can you just touch on the importance of having more representation in these fantasy worlds, not only behind and in front of the camera, but also behind the computer and pen?
I think it is vitally important because, when I was a kid in the distant dark ages, if there was a show, I remember one that just comes to my mind, an American show called Logan's Run. I don't know if you guys would remember that or even know what that is. but it was a sort of science fiction movie set in the future. And the idea was that once you hit the age of 30, you were killed. There was a movie and then there was a TV show. And I must have been, when that show was on, I don't know, maybe I was 9, 10, I'm not entirely sure. But it struck me that there weren't any black people in it. Not that I remember, anyway. And so me and my friends used to joke about it as we got older. We saw other things, other fantasy shows. And I'm not a big fantasy fan, but the shows that were set in the future, or like say, the movie Westworld. I know there's a TV show now, but the movie Westworld,
Yes.
all these things that were set in the future. We would be like, where are we? Why are we not there? What are they going to do to us? What's the plan? What's going to happen? And so we joke about it, but at the same time, it is vitally important that everybody, whoever is marginalized, feels that they are part of the world, I think. I think that when you make a show, wherever you set the show, whatever time you set the show in, the show tends to reflect the times that you are writing it in. So if, for example, we've just had a discussion about my character and the fact that he is pimping out his daughter, and we're disgusted by that, because that's where we are now, thankfully.
Right.
So I think it's important because my world is full of people of different races. I have Caucasian friends, I have Asian friends. These are all part of my group of people. And when I walk out of my door here in North London, that's what I see. And so I want to see that reflected in that world. And I want those people to feel like they're part of it. I remember having a discussion with Emma, plays Rhaenyra, and Emma identifies as non-binary. And that is just important because there are people who feel like that, and they should also be embraced and be allowed to be in the world. If you are not seen in the world, it can, for some people, it can be a spur. For some people can go, well, I'm going to go make my world. But for others, there are other people who just think, oh my God, there's no place for me. What's the point? And I don't think that's right. I mean, I'm afraid that's a really roundabout way of answering your question. But what I'm saying is, I know it's a cliche, representation matters, but it really does. It really does. And, you know, even down to the fact that, bringing the show back to me again, I'm so heartened when I see people send me stuff on social media of black men and women dressed as Corlys and saying, oh, we've got something that we can cosplay now. That's fabulous. Those things are so important to us, I think, as people. I think that they're important to the whole of our community, not just black people, but the whole of our world, to make our world a healthier place, I think. And I know that sounds a bit hippy-dippy, but you know, that's what I think.
No, that's honest. Yeah, that's the truth.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, man. You have really blown my mind and exceeded all expectations.
I'm just sitting here. I'm just like,
yeah, it's been really cool.
Like,
I'm not the only one fangirling and fanboying.
oh, it's been all of us. I've been sitting here this the whole time. Listen, our audience knows me on this show for probably talking more shit than anybody, and I just been sitting like.
It's been really cool.
Bless you. Thank you so much. Cool.
You honor me with your presence, my Lord.
And you, me.
This has been really, like, I've been sitting back just like Carlton, like just sitting back in all, like
taking it all in,
you know, taking it all in, like, you know, you really came and showed us a lot about yourself. Like, you know, your Instagram handle is the genuine Toussaint, and like you really lived up to that handle. Like, man, thank
you so much. Well, I want to thank you guys for what you do, because it's so important, again, as you said, to create a forum for people of all colors, but particularly people who have been historically shut out of this world, to be able to come together and discuss these issues. And so I think that's all praise to you for even having that idea. Yeah. You know, like I said, you're the second people that I've spoken to who do this. There's this other guy, like I said, this guy in New York. I think it's such a great thing to do. So please keep it up. It's fabulous.
Hell yeah, man. We like dragons and shit too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Man, this has been great, man. We really appreciate you. It's been incredible, and we definitely want to extend the invitation. I know that y'all are gonna get super busy when things ramp up with production. But if you'd love to, we'd love to have you back one night after a show or anything, or anytime you'd like to come back.
Please, yes, just reach out like you did before, and if that's possible, I would love to do that again. I've had a ball. Thank you.
Oh, it's possible.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit, you can come co-host if you want.
Be careful what you say, man. Be careful, because But thank you guys very much. I've really enjoyable. I really
thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Toussaint.
so much. We know it's late over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable, the fabulous, the wonderful, the genuine. He got that dog in him on that stage, Mr. Steve Toussaint.
Y'all give
But Corlys.
Give it up for Uncle Corlys, y'all.
Big Uncle Corlys.
Okay. You take care, guys.
Take care and have a good night.
And you too.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now he like, how you lead this motherfucker?
Right. How do I lead this motherfucker?
Yo.
That shit was
wild, nigga.
Hey, yo, thank you for tapping in. That was fucking amazing, man.
Hey, man, we still live?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. That shit was dope,
nigga. Hey, we can't just shut it down like that. We had it like, you know what I mean? Like,
that shit was dope, nigga.
After you do some dope shit, you got to talk about the dope shit you just did. Like,
bro, he was such a
I got my feet up and shit,
bro. You know what I mean? Hey, I don't know about y'all, but he shattered every expectation.
Yeah.
Like even expecting a lot from that, he shattered all of that shit.
Yeah,
man. And then he gave us an hour and 15 minutes, pretty much of his time.
And he gave us some exclusive shit, man. Like some shit we have not heard before.
Man,
yo, he was real. He was genuine. Yeah, like that Instagram handle is that's him.
Man, this shit got the pops. I'm getting.
Did y'all have a good?
Behind did y'all? I don't know.
Did y'all have a good time today?
Man,
hey, look, if y'all had a good time, one of the things we need y'all to do is go right now to your app store, whether you are on Apple or Android, and download BWNC Radio, because we are going to be streaming all of our exclusive stuff from our own platforms as well. So BWNC Radio app, the Black Window Chaser Radio app. Go download that shit right now. Pull your damn phone out. All 87 of y'all that's watching on Facebook or wherever y'all watching, pull that shit out. Download it right now. Help us run those numbers up. We trying to become one of the top downloaded platforms in the App Store, so that as we grow, we can begin to tell our stories and talk our shit our way, y'all. For real.
Hey, I'm about to get fired too, Jamila. So.
And
right.
The plate, my plate wants to apologize for being unable to make it today. You know what I mean? But the plate is asking for y'all's grace and forgiveness on that shit.
Nah,
hey, he really did, Caleb. And Caleb got shouted out. Caleb, he said he liked your intro, bro. That's wild.
Yeah.
Dog, that was not, yo.
Dog. Yep. This, I'm fucking speechless, bro. Like, seriously. Because like you said, Valeri, this nigga came through and it was like, fuck your glass ceiling, nigga. I'm finna say it all.
Man.
And it was
genuine, it was real, it was off the top, it wasn't rehearsed, it was just his answers were quick but precise, they're smooth. Man, that shit was just that was dope, man.
It was very thoughtful, very thoughtful. You know what
I'm glad I
think our goal is to at least
questions, because I was just sitting here. I was literally just watching. I was just
like I think our goal is to at least get him on for the season 2 recap.
Yeah,
we got to get him back. We got to get him back for a recap.
We got to get him back for a recap.
The fact that he didn't like shy away from any other questions was awesome to me too. Like he really straight up, he didn't give us like PC or answers, and he just gave us the answers that were authentic.
Real. That shit was dope, man. That shit was dope.
Y'all are dope, and I hate that Celestial and Mother of the Sweet Summer Children's couldn't be here. Yeah, I saw some of the ladies asking where were the ladies, and they had to work today. Yeah. And we was we took that PTO.
Man, I had to get up out of there, bro. I was running.
Yeah,
I was running.
Appreciate y'all being on, man. It was extremely dope. I think I'm still coming down from the high of conversation.
I don't even know if I'm going back to work. Fuck that job.
Good talk. And it's like y'all have no idea how much y'all in the comments contribute to the conversation.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Y'all are fucking
very much
dope.
so.
Like y'all
Y'all
make
comments were amazing.
Yeah, man. Like y'all make it even more fun. Like we're getting that thrill just from reading y'all's thoughts and y'all's excitement in that moment as well. So,
and hence the reason why like we
I
do
see
shit like
Celestial.
this. And hence the reason why we do shit like this live, because you know this live comment reaction is what
Celestial.
Oh, look at Celestial.
Yeah.
Look at
Celestial.
her. Look at her, all that work and shit.
She just started her new job.
I ain't got no PTO. I'm broke, baby.
I'm broke, baby.
But we want you to know that we want you to know that you still here with us
Always,
regardless of if you ain't on the screen, baby.
Celestial at work, and it was coming on. She was like, "I'm finna go do this," and she was like, "Fuck that, I'm leaving here with something." And they was like, "Yeah, you leave with a pink slip."
You gonna leave here with fucking something,
go back
right?
to my desk.
Shit.
Oh man,
all right, we own it, baby. We own it. You ain't said nothing but a word, Negro.
merch on deck.
Merch on the way, baby. And yeah, man. I don't know what to say, Tyrus. It's your,
So because now we just blushing and fangirling now.
Go 5-star our shit on.
I've been doing that.
Yeah. Apple, Spotify. Where are we? Yeah.
We everywhere. Apple, Spotify,
anywhere you can listen
radio,
to some shit.
5
us out, yo.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcast pleasures from, we there. And 5 stars, subscribe, share that shit.
Yeah,
all that.
Hey, it's over with now. You know niggas fuck with you after you famous. We famous.
Yeah, man.
These niggas don't fuck with them.
Hey, it's like that. It's like that. What is it? The Devil Wears Prada. Miranda Priestley when she's when she giving the instructions about what to do next. On her shit, fuck it. If you ain't never seen Devil Wears Prada,
been a minute, my nigga.
I tell you what. I tell you what, dog. With my first HBO check, I'm gonna buy me a hairpiece. Not the one that Ron got or Tory Lanez got. I'm gonna get a good one.
Shit.
My shit gonna be laid, baby.
Yeah.
Not with the HBO money. I wasn't gonna have that HBO hair.
Listen,
bitch, don't touch my hair.
Yeah, HBO better get at us. Y'all better come get y'all one of these. It's a Black with No Chaser.
It's a chicken salad.
Like it's a Watch Them Thrones. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. We just doing housekeeping at this point. Like, please pull up and subscribe, y'all. We're trying to
we just really, hanging at this point on some nigga shit.
Right. We trying to create this community for Black folks, man. Like platforms for Black people to be able to do what we just did beyond the spaces of where, we are sometimes restricted to be able to do them the way that we know that we can sometimes. So we're trying to create our own shit that can stand alone from it. So y'all be sure to pull up to us,
Yes, sir.
No doubt. So yeah, man. Again, we do appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Shout out once again to Uncle Corlys for coming through. So who just asked? Natalia asked who's up next. I got some things in the works.
Yeah, we
just
wait on it.
Just a little something. So
rub hands like Birdman, baby.
Yeah, man.
But we do appreciate y'all. We love doing this, and we love that y'all love us. So we gonna keep it going best we can.
Yeah.
So
we hope we made you proud.
With that being said, on behalf of Celestial Benguni, who could not be here cause she at work, nigga.
And the mother of the sweet summer children.
Sweet summer children. Celeste Williams, who comes and fuck with us. Jamila.
That's
everybody
right.
Fuck with her. On behalf of y'all and Mr. Velaryon, the light skinned dread, Leslie McLemore, CJ Lawrence, and myself, and the entire Black with No Chaser, Watch Them Thrones staff and record label as a whole.
That's right.
We appreciate y'all for coming through. We love y'all, and we look forward to doing this again real soon. So see y'all not this Sunday, but next Sunday for
next Sunday.
Recap season 2, episodes 2 and 3.
The South got something to say, baby.
3 and 4.
The
3
South
and
got
4.
yeah, that's right. 3 and 4.
My bad.
The
Yeah,
South
3
got
and 4
something to say,
from Game
baby.
of Thrones.
Hey, and with that said, how do I lead this
lead
motherfucker?
How do you lead this motherfucker?
I don't know.